Imagine you're sitting down for just a quick glance at your phone, a scroll through Instagram, maybe responding to a few texts. Then 2 hours have gone by, and you're left wondering, where did the time go? If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Studies show that the average person spends over 6 hours a day in front of a screen, most of it on their phone. In this video, we'll dive into why this addiction happens, why it's harming you more than you think, and most importantly, how to take back control. We'll explore this modern dilemma through the lens of ancient Stoic philosophy, examining how it relates to human nature and our constant struggle for self mastery. If you've ever wanted to break free from the grip of your smartphone, stay tuned as I share actionable strategies that can help you reclaim your time and mental clarity. Let's start by understanding why our phones are so addictive. It's not just about convenience or entertainment. Our phones are deliberately designed to be addictive, exploiting fundamental aspects of human psychology that the Stoics warned us about thousands of years ago. There's something in psychology called the dopamine loop, which is triggered by the notifications, the likes, the messages, and the endless scroll. Every time we receive a notification or check our feed, our brain releases dopamine, a chemical linked to pleasure and reward. This short term hit of dopamine keeps us coming back for more. Dr. Larry Rosen conducted a study where he tracked phone usage in college students. The results were staggering. On average, they unlocked their phones over 60 times a day and spent more than 3.5 hours using them. It's important to note that this study was conducted in 2016, and phone addiction has only increased since then. The rise of TikTok, Reels, and Stories has added even more fuel to the fire. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus and Seneca, warned about the dangers of becoming enslaved to pleasure. They argued that true happiness comes not from external stimuli, but from inner virtue and self control. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This sentiment applies perfectly to our modern struggle with phone addiction. Our constant need for the dopamine hit from our phones is exactly the kind of pleasure seeking behavior that the Stoics cautioned against. They would view our phone addiction as a form of slavery to external things, which they believed led to unhappiness and a lack of true freedom. So, why is this a problem? You might think, I'm just spending time on my phone. What's the harm in that? But the harm is deeper than it seems. Your brain is constantly being rewired by the technology you use, and the companies behind these apps know exactly how to exploit your natural tendencies. We are living in what's called the attention economy, where tech companies compete for your time and ultimately your attention. The more time you spend on your phone, the more data they can collect and the more targeted ads they can sell. Essentially, your attention has become a commodity. Apps are designed to hijack your brain's reward system. Take Instagram, for example. It withholds notifications like likes or comments and releases them in bursts, maximizing your engagement by delivering unpredictable rewards. This concept, known as random intermittent reward, is used to increase dopamine production, making the experience more addictive. Even worse, every swipe, every click, and every scroll you make is tracked and used to refine the content that's shown to you. This keeps you in a loop where you continue to consume content tailored to your preferences. It's no wonder we find ourselves glued to our phones for hours without even realizing it. The Stoics emphasized the importance of focusing on what is within our control and accepting what is not. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In the context of the attention economy, the Stoics would likely argue that while we can't control how these apps are designed, we can control our response to them. They would encourage us to be mindful of how we're spending our attention and to remember that our time and focus are valuable resources that shouldn't be carelessly given away. You might ask, but if it makes me happy, what's the big deal? Here's the thing. Our phones are killing our focus, our creativity, and even our happiness. There's an increasing body of research linking phone addiction to anxiety, depression, and even cognitive decline. One key psychological phenomenon is nomophobia, the fear of being without your smartphone. A study conducted in 2021 showed that people who were forced to be without their phones experienced anxiety, elevated heart rates, and even increased cortisol levels, the hormone responsible for stress. Not only does phone addiction affect your mental health, but it also affects your physical well being. The blue light emitted from screens disrupts your sleep patterns, contributing to poor sleep quality and insomnia. You've likely heard the advice to avoid screens an hour before bed, but how many of us actually follow it? A lack of quality sleep over time can weaken your immune system, impair your cognitive abilities, and decrease your overall quality of life. And let's not forget about procrastination. The more time you spend on your phone, the harder it becomes to resist the instant gratification it offers. Why focus on your work when you can get a quick dopamine hit from scrolling through social media? Over time, this erodes your ability to focus and makes it harder to accomplish meaningful tasks. The Stoics believed in the concept of eudaimonia, or human flourishing, which they saw as the highest good. This state of flourishing comes from living in accordance with virtue and reason, not from fleeting pleasures or external validation. Epictetus taught that he is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Applied to our modern context, this wisdom encourages us to find contentment in real life experiences and relationships rather than seeking validation through likes and shares on social media. Moreover, the Stoics emphasized the importance of self discipline and delayed gratification. Seneca advised, "He who restrains himself within the limits prescribed by nature will not feel poverty. He who exceeds them will be poor in the midst of all his wealth." This principle directly applies to our use of technology. By exercising self restraint with our phone usage, we can reclaim our time and attention for more meaningful pursuits. To truly understand the grip our phones have on us, we need to delve deeper into the neuroscience behind this addiction. The constant checking of our phones, the anticipation of notifications, and the endless scrolling all trigger a complex neurochemical process in our brains. When we receive a notification or discover new content, our brains release dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This creates a feedback loop. We check our phones, feel good, and want to repeat the behavior. Over time, this can lead to structural changes in our brains, similar to those seen in other forms of addiction. A study published in the journal addictive behaviors found that excessive smartphone use was associated with decreased gray matter volume in certain areas of the brain, particularly those involved in decision making and emotional regulation. This suggests that phone addiction doesn't just affect our behavior, it can actually change the structure of our brains. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, emphasized the importance of self control and mastery over one's impulses. In his Meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." From a Stoic perspective, the key to overcoming phone addiction lies not in eliminating technology entirely, but in cultivating a strong sense of self discipline and mindfulness. By becoming aware of our impulses and choosing how to respond to them, we can regain control over our attention and our lives. While we've discussed the personal impacts of phone addiction, it's crucial to consider its broader social implications. Our increasing reliance on digital communication is reshaping how we interact with others and perceive the world around us. A study published in the journal Computers and Human Behavior found that the mere presence of a smartphone during face to face interactions reduced the quality of conversation and the level of empathy between participants. This phenomenon, known as phubbing, phone snubbing, can lead to feelings of exclusion and negatively impact our relationships. Moreover, the curated nature of social media can create unrealistic expectations and foster feelings of inadequacy. We're constantly exposed to highlight reels of others' lives, which can lead to unhealthy comparisons and decreased life satisfaction. The Stoics placed great importance on cultivating meaningful relationships and being present in our interactions with others. Epictetus advised, "We have two ears and one mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." From a Stoic perspective, our obsession with our phones often prevents us from truly listening and being present with those around us. By prioritizing genuine, face to face interactions over digital communication, now that we understand the problem, how can we solve it? Here are Zapward 7 actionable steps that you can start applying today to take control of your phone usage, inspired by both modern research and Stoic principles. 1. App blockers. Use apps like Opal or screen time limits on your phone. These apps will block social media during specific times, helping you avoid mindless scrolling. For example, set it to block apps during your most productive hours. 2. Focus modes. Utilize focus modes that silence notifications when you're working or socializing. This helps to maintain your concentration and only the most important notifications come through. 3. Charge your phone in a different room. One of the simplest but most effective hacks: keep your phone out of your bedroom. By charging it outside your room, you avoid the temptation to check it first thing in the morning or before going to bed. 4. Rearrange your apps. Move your social media apps off your home screen. This forces you to search for them, adding friction to the process of mindless browsing. 5. Grayscale mode. Turn your phone's display to grayscale. By removing color, your phone becomes less engaging and less addictive. 6. 1 Sec app. This app creates a 5-second delay every time you open social media, giving you a moment to reconsider whether you actually want to engage or are just acting on impulse. 7. Use your computer for messaging. Instead of replying to texts or emails on your phone, do it from your computer. This reduces the amount of time spent on your phone and increases productivity. In addition to these practical strategies, we can incorporate the Stoic practice of self reflection. Take a few minutes at the end of each day to ask yourself, did I use my time wisely today? Was I distracted by my phone? Reflect on your actions and make adjustments accordingly. Marcus Aurelius practiced this kind of self reflection daily, writing in his journal, which later became the Meditations, to examine his thoughts and actions. By adopting this practice, we can become more aware of our phone usage habits and make conscious choices about how we spend our time. While it's important to reduce our dependence on our phones, it's equally crucial to develop a more mindful approach to technology use. The goal isn't to completely eliminate our phones from our lives, but to use them intentionally and in ways that enhance rather than detract from our well being. Here are some strategies for cultivating digital mindfulness. 1. Set intentions. Before picking up your phone, pause and ask yourself why you're doing it. Is it out of habit, or do you have a specific purpose? Practice monotasking. Instead of multitasking with your phone, focus on one task at a time. If you're checking email, just check email. If you're scrolling through social media, be fully present in that activity. 3. Digital Sabbath. Consider taking regular breaks from your phone, such as a digital Sabbath 1 day a week, where you disconnect completely. 4th, mindful consumption. Be selective about the content you consume. Unfollow accounts that don't add value to your life, and curate your digital environment to support your well being. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort to build resilience and appreciation for what they had. Seneca advised occasionally living as if we had lost all our possessions to remind ourselves of their value. We can apply this principle to our phone use by intentionally going without our phones for short periods. This practice can help us overcome the fear of missing out, FOMO, and appreciate the present moment more fully. Breaking free from phone addiction isn't easy, but it's one of the most important things you can do for your mental, emotional, and physical well being. As we've explored, the ancient wisdom of Stoicism offers valuable insights for navigating our modern, tech saturated world. By cultivating self awareness, practicing self control, and focusing on what truly matters, we can use technology as a tool for enhancement rather than a source of distraction. You are in control, not your phone. By implementing the strategies we've discussed and adopting a more mindful approach to technology use, you can reclaim your time, attention, and ultimately, your life. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the words of Epictetus, he is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Let's appreciate the richness of life beyond our screens. I'll see you in the next one.